Everybody, thanks for being with us here on this special edition of Facebook Live again as we continue to track damaging flooding and life-threatening flooding. And now, Jim, we have unfortunately, our first fatality, potentially that is weather-related in Clay County.
Confirm. Yeah, that's right. There we go. That's right. Yeah, we've got a confirmed fatality.
Yeah.
Could be flood-related, could be weather-related down there in Clay County. You can go to WKYT.com. You can get the full information on that story, or you can find it here on Facebook as well. But this is what we're always afraid of in these situations.
And the sad part is we're essentially at the midway point of this flood event. I mean, it's going to, in terms of the rain event part of it, the flooding is going to last for days along the rivers. Everything you're looking at here, Jim, are flood warnings across Kentucky, and that includes more counties than not. And I mean, you're talking everybody along and south of 64 essentially, and those watches or those warnings are going to get expanded to the north. We have a tornado watch as well that is out for parts of south central Kentucky. We had this as a concern for Bowling Green area. Into our immediate viewing area would be Casey County, Russell County, then you got Taylor and Adair in that. This goes until 2 a.m. All kinds of flood warnings out. We had a tornado warning into western Kentucky a little earlier, and we got to take the flood warnings off, Jim, just so we can see the radar. Interesting to note those thunderstorms going up here on the Mountain Parkway into eastern Kentucky, too. A
little more activity. And we've talked about some of them getting out and away from the main thunderstorm activity.
Right.
This is going to be your main focal point right here for thunderstorms, and that is coming our way. But you're going to see occasional little shots like that.
Well, a couple of little lightning strikes showing up here into Lincoln County. Let's go into southern Kentucky. Jim, this is an area where we picked up 3 to 5 inches of rain earlier today. All kinds of flooding. Won't take much more to cause renewed high water issues on a local scale. Columbia, Dare County catching a bit of a break. London, Corbin to Barberville. Those were areas that were extremely hard hit a little earlier. What we're dealing with across parts of eastern Kentucky, and Jim, this was a problem a few years ago into the Panbow Lake area of Breathitt County at Jackson, where it was potentially going to fail at some point.
Right.
Well, Governor Beshear just sent out information that evacuations are underway around Panbow Lake again right now because water levels are threatening that dam, I guess, which is a road, if I'm not mistaken, down there.
I think you're right. Yeah.
15? Is it 15? Maybe I can't remember the exact road.
Right out there by it,
But yeah, I think that is an issue down there. So we got that as a potential going through the overnight. You see those thunderstorms here, Campton, 460 into parts of Morgan County, coming out of Menifee County. Flooding rains in all likelihood here in the northeastern parts of Breathitt County into, that'd be what, 30? I think
that's 30 right there.
Coming out of the Middle Fork area toward Rusaw into Breathitt County.
Literally just got a report from my old neighbor in what is known as the Oakley area of Magoffin County, so a little more down here, of water getting up as it always did. I used to watch it get up, around my house, Licking River right there. So it's elevated for sure.
We both grew up on the banks of the Licking River.
Literally, yes.
Literally, yes, right there. Yeah. Farther to the north, we see more in the way of heavy rains here, I-64. This is the areas. These are the areas just now getting in to the potential flooding heading into the next several hours. And we're looking into western Kentucky, and I take a step back just because the line of thunderstorms out here, Jim, the amount of lightning all of a sudden erupting with these, an indication these storms are cranking, that much we know. But what we're going to be seeing with this is that tornado threat coming from this into western Kentucky. But this is the line that everything goes from southwest to northeast along it, but it only creeps along to the east and southeast. I mean, this thing may not move very much at all over the next 2 hours. It may get a little closer to 65, and that's about it.
And that's about it. And then you can see, at one time we had about 5 or 6 tornado warnings on the south side of this. Now, the severe weather element is certainly something we're very concerned about for certain zones, but we're also still worried about, the high water that is ongoing out there.
It is the flood threat that is center stage.
Yes.
It's the #1 threat heading into the overnight. And just because it may not be flooding where you live, it may not be raining really hard where you live, don't let your guard down, because we're not through with this just yet. And walk us through this, Jim, with this future radar. This is where we are now, almost 8 o'clock, right at 8 o'clock.
That's right, and 4 minutes away.
So all this rain just keeps moving in. It's a little fast compared to what the actual radar is.
It is. It is a little
just
bit.
a little fast.
But look at this. Look at how it just feeds.
10 o'clock.
Over the same spots.
Midnight.
Some of the model projections spitting out 3 to 5 inches at least. Additional inches in this area, yes. But watch this. This is going to be your severe weather maker right through there. And you
Southern
see it
Kentucky.
Draws toward the east. And as it does, it's going to have some winds pushing at 60 plus miles per hour. And then you could spin some.
Yeah, and you're going to look at this whole area of southeastern Kentucky where 2 o'clock in the morning may not be raining, and you think, okay, we're going to go to bed. And then here you go with more heavy rain that comes in with another inch or maybe 2 into some of those areas.
When you get into true thunderstorms like this, they can overperform what any model is projecting out there. They just have a hard time picking up on thunderstorms.
Yeah, models and thunderstorms don't go together. They do really well with just general rainfall, but anytime there's convection, thunderstorms involved, not so much. We need cold air to put an end to this. You get at 7 in the morning the heaviest rain to our east. There's one more surge of heavy rain and what may be a band of really heavy snow right behind that for a few hours, middle of the morning into the early afternoon.
Do you think, with the intensity of that snow, do you think there's a possibility of any thunder snow? Because it could be really heavy for a
Pretty
moment.
incredible. I need to pull up the HUR and see if it has some lightning strikes.
Because
I think there is a possibility with that.
With as heavy as that, but just looking at pure radar, future radar data,
and then
the
cold air kicks in. We got snow showers and flurries that would come in behind that, and I think it's a winter storm threat Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday. We're likely to put several inches of snow on the ground coming this week. So we know the flooding is a major threat, but Jim, we hope and pray it doesn't impact too many people, but obviously that's already happening.
It is.
So we're likely to have many folks who are displaced from their homes tonight, maybe out for an extended period of time. And now we're going to go into a pattern where it is bitterly cold for the next week and multiple heavy snows potentially taking shape.
Yeah, and you're talking about the cold, you're talking about the snow. And when he says cold, we could get back down to around 0 for wind chills at least by the end of the week.
With several inches of snow on the ground at that time.
Which helps to keep things even colder.
Yeah.
So that's where we could be headed.
Yeah. So it's not a good setup with the flooding and then what comes after it, obviously.
And of course we'll keep you up to date here on Facebook, on WKYT, on WKYT.com, through the weather app, all of that stuff.
And we're gonna jump back here at halftime, right? I know a lot of folks will be watching the UK game coming up a little bit. Obviously, we'll be breaking in on WKYT. Our weather app, here on Facebook as well. We find that a lot of times now, Jim, you can reach a lot of people with this Facebook Live.
Well, we've got about 2,100 people watching right now, and I don't see any questions from anybody so far. That's what I've been watching.
Yeah, and if you guys have some, leave them there. We will answer those. The next Facebook Live we do, maybe an hour or so. We'll try to update these on the hour, and I suspect at later tonight on WKYT we're going to go into just wall-to-wall extended coverage as the flood threat really kicks back into high gear heading into the overnight. Never a good time for severe weather and flooding, never, but there is a bad time. There is an absolute worst time, and Jim, that's where we're heading into the overnight.
Maria has one question.
What you got, Maria?
And it's about the tornado watch. She said, "Do you think it'll come more to the east?" And I suspect we could get more counties.
I think we can get a few more counties down here added to that. Yeah, and that's typically how some of these lower end watches are handled. Instead of issuing a new watch, now they give jurisdiction to the Weather Service offices to add some counties to an existing watch.
So to answer your question,
I think that's very possible. That can get all the way to 75. Don't you think?
I think she's down in Laurel County, and I think that's what she's worried about. So there's certainly a possibility.
Yep. And as those get in here, we'll by that time likely be with continuing coverage. All right, folks. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you back here coming up probably within around an hour or so.